There's this notion I can't get out of my head. It's whether I would buy myself a beer. In other words, if I came in a bar and sat down next to me, would I find that person interesting enough to buy them a beer? I've always liked to buy my friends, acquaintances, coworkers beers or drinks. And so this video is going to be all about how I got to the place where I think whether I'll buy myself a beer or not. Welcome to Knocking on Wood. I think it's really an interesting thought experiment because there's been times in my life that for sure I wouldn't have bought myself a beer. I didn't like who I was. I didn't like what I was doing. I didn't like my job. I didn't like my relationship. I didn't like who I saw in the mirror. It took lots of work for me to get to the place where I really think I would buy myself a beer. It really made me think long and hard about where I'm at in my life today and where I was in 2018 when I lost my job and how quickly things can change for the good or for the bad. I'm making a display for one of my homies. He got his black belt, and so I'm gonna build a display so he can put his black belt certificate in it and then tie the belt around it. I think it takes work in this world to feel good about who you are. If self-love is a thing, I think I've found it in my 40s. I have an amazing wife, I have a great job, and I found this hobby that I'm hoping to eventually turn into a career. So I want to expand more on the whole idea of would you buy yourself a beer? And throughout this episode, I think we can touch on it in different ways. My mental health journey originally was pretty conventional. In my 20s, I did some therapy. It was pretty helpful then. I think I kind of had the same experience as a lot of people, especially a lot of men, that they go to therapy and then it feels like eventually they hit a roadblock. And I just felt like I wasn't getting any progress out of therapy. And so I stopped doing that, and the benefits that I'd received from therapy had carried with me for a long time. It wasn't until probably my early 40s, I had lost my job. By my own design, I got fired, and it really shoved a mirror in my face and had forced me to take a look at who I was and how I got there. And I had to do some soul searching, and I had to, reevaluate what my priorities are and kind of figure out how I got to that place and what I needed to do. And so I went back to the things that grounded me, family, friends, but most importantly, my physical health. I started training jiu-jitsu again. I started teaching jiu-jitsu, which was such an amazing transformation for me again, that I took the focus off of myself, off of the pain I was in, or how I failed, or and really pivot my focus to other people, helping others by teaching them this amazing martial art. It gave me a break from the constant beating myself up in my thoughts about that I was a failure, and it was like almost a reset for me. But more importantly, it gave me space in my brain again to be creative and going back to creating things and loving the passion for my job, and then which eventually led me to woodworking. It really was like a true reset for me. But I was in a very bad place when I lost my job. But I think, one of the challenges with being a man is everything is tied into our worth, our career. What value do we bring to the world and to our family, and obtaining things. And when I lost my job, I thought it was over. For some reason, I thought I would never work again. And it really hit me hard. And for the first time in my life, I was just considering turning the lights out. You know, it took me a little bit to dig myself back out. In 2019, I got a job that I really loved, but as you know it, we went right into the pandemic, and that felt like my world was turned upside down. I was like, man, I got this great job. I was very excited about this job. It was at a company I loved working for. And we went into the lockdown, the pandemic, and I felt pretty fragile. I was in a new city with a new job that I didn't know anybody, and I didn't know if I could make it. But as it would happen, my jiu-jitsu professor actually had moved to Dallas years before and opened his own academy, and that was the city that I got the job. And so jiu-jitsu again saved my life. It was insane how every time I've had these troubles in my life, it had been jiu-jitsu or some kind of health and wellness that has really kind of saved me and recalibrated me, re-engaged me, and it's just been amazing. You know, the world felt like it was collapsing at that time, and a lot of men felt helpless, including myself. But I think what's important is I made it out, you made it out, and we're all doing better because of it. The biggest highlight of the pandemic for me is that I met my wife, and that woman literally saved my life. It's hard to talk about it. But ever since I met her, my life has been amazing. She's a superhuman. She's so generous and kind and beautiful, and she values me for who I am. And so she is a huge part of my mental health stability. And I think it's important for every man to have a woman or a partner, or however you want, that builds you up and holds you up and believes in you and is your biggest fan. And I think that's a key component of your mental health. And I think when you find the right partner, you feel invincible. And I think a lot of men, we struggle with finding the right partner. We want a woman for the wrong things, and I was guilty of that myself. It really made me think long and hard about where I'm at in my life today and where I was in 2018 when I lost my job, and how quickly things can change for the good or for the bad. For those of you men out there that are, you know, feeling like you're at rock bottom, it doesn't take a lot of time to turn your life around, but you got to do the right things. You have to eat right, you have to sleep, you have to exercise. You don't have to do jiu-jitsu, but I promise you that will change your life. It'll give you confidence and awareness, and you'll be able to protect your family and your friends. And I think, you know, the camaraderie that's there is so important for a man. And so I recommend it to anybody that asks me, like, should I train jiu-jitsu? And the answer is always yes. I feel that my mental health is in the right place, is that I have to constantly work on it. But I do feel at times that it's, you know, men are under attack all the time, and I can't really figure out why that is. And so it's important for us to all, you know, stay together and help each other, build each other up, and talk to each other. I know a man is not supposed to talk about their feelings, and I understand that myself, but you know, there needs to be a place where we can share and we can, you know, ask for advice. And I'm hoping that this channel can turn into that, because I've had a few people in my life that I could really talk to, and few friends that you know, I could call and for help whenever I needed, they would come. And I think I want to be that for more people. And I think this channel could be that possibility. This is my first time talking about what's going on in my head. It probably feels really scattered, but I hope some of it makes sense. And I really hope I can have an impact, because I love building things and making things and being creative. But I want to try and use this channel to do some of that, but always along with showing some woodworking projects along the way, as either a background or as in the foreground. I don't want it to always be all about feelings all the time, but I definitely think there needs to be more spaces where guys can talk about what they're going through.
So after all that, would I buy myself a beer? It's a great question. I ponder on it a lot. But you're damn right I would.